That's why you have to be very careful with traps, because you don't realize how much pain it's actually causing you, how much damage it's causing you. And until those traps, as someone comes to release that trap for you, you may not even know you're trapped anymore because you're so used to living with it.
Yeah.
Welcome. Who do we have with us today?
I'm Matea.
And I'm Jeanette.
So welcome. Today we wanted to talk about traps. So a lot of parents watching this, or maybe you're a kid watching this or listening to this, there's so many traps that we don't even know that we fall into. So have you ever seen a National Geographic when a little animal is walking, is looking for food, and then its paw gets caught in a trap? What happens?
Get stuck.
How does it feel when it's stuck?
It gets like frustrated and terrified.
And it's in pain.
Yes.
Right? That's what a trap does. That's what it's designed for. There's so many of those traps in society that we don't even know. So as a parent, if they don't know what it is, they think it's okay. As a child now, when they go to it, they don't think it's a trap. And then that's when they get involved in something and there's no backing out. A lot of traps that we go to, it's only a one-way street.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very careful of all the traps that are out there. So we'll go over a few of them. So you as a parent, what is the one trap that you think that most kids are most vulnerable to?
Maybe actually the parents sometimes.
As the trap?
Yeah. Because you're being almost forced into maybe not always listen to good advices. Because the parent may be not knowing what they're actually doing. Yeah.
I agree with that. You?
I would believe friends. Like, it depends, like, on which friends you're with, but, and society.
So I would say merge both of that and say it's environment. When you look at any species that's living on this planet, if the environment's not conducive where they can grow, what happens?
Well, you shut down like you...
They die.
Yeah.
They have to move. And if there's no other suitable climate, suitable place, they can't survive. Right?
Yeah.
So same thing with us. We put ourselves in certain environments that are not healthy, and then we get stuck, or we get used to them, or we become attached to them. And then the more that happens, the more those environments we put ourselves in, we actually start regressing.
Yeah.
And when we regress too far, then we can't evolve. And then when we're stuck so solid, and we want to have that dream, we want to live out that dream, we want to get what we want in life, but because the environment our entire life was too many traps, no one's going to take it off for you because you don't even know you've been trapped.
Yeah. It's been your, like, you think it's life, you think that's the way it is. Yeah.
And so that's why you have to be very careful of the traps around you. So let's discuss some of those traps. You okay?
Yeah.
Are you up for it?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the biggest traps that's out there, especially for the youth, is comparison. Biggest one.
Yeah.
Some schools even take out where you cannot shame people. So people will wear certain jackets, and because they feel they're better than you, they feel they can shame somebody else. So they had to eliminate that sort of stuff from the school system because of the shame, because that's a trap. So you have to be very careful not to compare, because that's the biggest thing with social media. Don't get me wrong, it's okay for one use, but when you don't know how to handle what you're viewing or interpreting, then you think that, oh, well, I don't have this. I don't have, so-and-so has this, so-and-so has that. Do you know his mom got him this, or her mom got her that? I want that. See, then there's the comparison, right? That's a trap. Do you need that? Is that suitable for your growth? Is that suitable to make you a better person? Right? You have to ask yourself all these questions, because everything is either an asset or a liability. So a lot of people think, oh, you know what? I'm going to go get that latest phone. I'm going to go get that latest car. Problem is, most of those are liabilities. How do you tell the difference? Well, asset is going to make you money.
Yeah.
Asset is going to appreciate in value. Asset is going to be very valuable, that people will always cherish that. Right? So the value is retained.
Yeah.
Liability cost you money.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people buy that expensive car or expensive even house that they live in that they can't afford. That's a liability because the money keeps going out the door.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be very careful when you're looking at comparison. Is it an asset that you're attaining, or is it more liabilities you are attaining? And as a young person, the biggest trap, they have too many liabilities. They want those shoes, they want the latest phone, they want this, they want that. And is that going to make you money?
No.
It's just costing you more.
Yes.
So you have to invest in assets as soon as possible. Use that capital with those assets to make sure that you're playing the long-term game. So by the time you reach your mom's age or even younger, you can do more with your time. You can do more with the value you've acquired. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest traps out there. And people are too afraid to even identify it or too afraid to talk about that. Because they only want the liabilities, the things that show good for social media.
And it's such a short term.
That's just ego-based,
Yeah.
selfish-based.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful not to fall into that trap. Right? Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
And it's like, I think also a lot of the times it's like this short term happiness. Like, you think you're happy, and then perfect example was that because we don't do a lot of shopping, but we did it the other day because they needed some summer shoes, and then we got back home, and then the youngest said, like, when I was at the shop, I didn't think that I wanted to buy things, but now when I bought one thing, it's like I just want to buy the whole world. You know, and then it's
you
like,
got to be careful with that one.
I know. And I was like, well, you know, that's not good. She's like, yeah, but I don't know where it came from, but that's just a feeling, you know? So we had to talk about that, right? And it just shows how easy we are getting into that feeling.
And that's the flashy syndrome where everybody wants all the shiny things, want to acquire things, want to have things. And that's where the comparison comes in again.
Yeah.
That's a trap.
Yeah.
It will handicap you.
Yeah.
And most people today, that's how they live their life. So-and-so has this, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
Put it on credit. So-and-so has this, I gotta get that. Steal it. So-and-so has this, gotta get that. Make sure they're not looking.
Yeah.
Take it as mine or show it as it's mine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you gotta be very careful with that comparison because you can't ever fall for that trap. Because as soon as you fall for that trap, then all the other traps are waiting for you right after that.
And that is what social media is actually built upon. Like,
it's good for one thing,
Yeah.
where if you want to share certain things,
Yeah,
maybe that's okay.
sure.
How you're changing the world, that's fine. But if you're just doing it to show off, or you're just doing it to make yourself feel good, then I say maybe that's not the greatest,
Yeah.
right? What's
Exactly.
another trap you think that we go through from your perspective?
Comparison with grades.
Yeah, but that's also comparison, yes.
Yeah.
So like another trap, not comparison, but another trap that's in your environment is maybe I can think right now.
Is it doing something you don't actually feel good about doing, but because everyone else is doing it,
So,
you do it?
like a party?
Yeah.
So let's say someone has a party now. One person invites everybody, so everyone feels they're inclined that they have to show up.
Yeah.
But what happens at that party if the person hosting the party is not of sound mind and they fall for all the traps?
Yeah. And that kind of almost happened the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
And the whole energy is changing from within. in
So
just, like,
what you
few
call that
hours.
is trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And we had a talk, and the whole talk was how to
Not fit in.
stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you grow up in life, if you fit in and no one even knows your name, you don't bring much value to the table, no one will pay you as such. But if you stand out, and if she won all the medals, and if she was great at academics, and she aced every class, and she stood out and stood out and stood out, build the communications, build the ability to network in the right network, and all of a sudden, when she stands out, she's valued at that level. But if she tried to fit in and go to every party and try to get everyone to like her, it's not going to stand out. And if
Yeah.
you don't stand out, people will just use you so that you can just be their stepping stone so that they feel they can stand out.
a perfect example was even not just with friends, but that was a school situation where you were helping us or guiding us, and not to do what everyone else was doing, and listen to, you know, the guidance regarding to health issues, and it kind of led up to the next situation where we also were able to take a good situation without actually, or decision without actually having to go into a lot of explanation or even an argument, because we already set the example. So they were able to know where we came from and know the standards that we wanted, and it was so much easier for Matea to be Matea in that situation, because they knew that, you know, this is how they handle it, or this is what they want. We're not gonna just make them do it, right?
So what do you call that?
I don't know quite.
People pleasing.
Yeah.
That's a trap.
Yeah.
How many people they compare now, then they want to acquire things to look good, then they want to please everybody, so they want to stand out in their own little way. They want to please everyone so that they can feel like they stood out.
Yeah.
It's another trap.
Yeah.
This is all just an illusion, a facade. And by the time you wake up from that, most people, it's too late. And by the time they wake up from that, and if it's too late, they become so ignorant, and then they turn their back against the world. That's why you have to be very careful with traps, because you don't realize how much pain it's actually causing you, how much damage it's causing you. And until those traps, as someone comes to release that trap for you, you may not even know you're trapped anymore, because you're so used to living with it.
Yeah. And it is like the previous podcast where you were talking about how to know yourself. It's basically that you know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you will always fall into these traps.
Correct. Easier.
Yeah. But if
Do you understand?
I understand.
Yeah. If you know who you are, you will always stand up for yourself, no matter what. And I guess that's why I said parenting in the beginning, because if you are, as a parent, don't know who you are, then how are you going to teach your kids?
You cannot.
No.
That's why a lot of parents play by different rules. They'll tell the child to do one thing, they don't even do it themselves.
I know.
That's called a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And that's why when the kid sees the disconnect,
Yeah.
they don't believe anything you say, they do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They don't have discipline, then they fall for all the outside traps, because they no longer view your voice to be of value.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't hold any weight, so then they listen to everyone but you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? It's very dangerous,
Yes.
especially for people growing up. You want to make sure if this seed is growing, it needs the right amount of water, right amount of light, right amount of oxygen, right? Has to be cared for.
Yeah.
But what happens when you take the water away? What happens when you take the oxygen away? You take the light away. Can it evolve? Can it thrive?
Not at all.
So we have to know what is the water? What is the oxygen? What is the light? So then when we make sure we're adding the right type of nutrients now, then they can thrive. Then they can grow.
Exactly.
Right? But if they're trapped and trapped and trapped, no one will grow. And if no one's growing, then that's how we die faster.
And it's also not like it's so easy again to take it back to, you know, what you were starting about, you know, with the social media or the fake happiness, because if you don't have those things in growing, you will always search for the superficial happiness, and you will always have to chase life instead of having life coming to you. So it is so important that I wish I knew and learned so much more of this when I got her.
Yes.
But at least I'm learning now. And it's so
And she will be forever grateful.
Yeah.
When she grows up, knowing that she sees the people she's going to school now, how they're going to become, to how she will become.
Yeah. Because I see the growth in her is tremendous. You know, it's like when I do the right choices and change, it's so much easier to guide her. And also, I mean, even for her to be able to listen to you by herself, instead of, you know, having to, maybe another 15-year-old would not, like, would put up a wall or, you know, whatever. But it's, yeah. So.
They see how traps are dangerous? So what would you say to everyone watching or listening in regards to traps?
Maybe don't keep yourself in, and try to understand your surroundings, and like actually feel how the environment you're in is affecting you.
Yeah, the same thing is like, because there's always this small whisper, or there's always this small feeling inside. You know what? The intuition is always there, right? You always know if you're doing right or wrong, if you really start to listen to yourself. So don't go against that, but just try to be more honest with yourself and reach out for help, instead of just like do what everyone else does.
Okay. Well, I think that was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Right? And for everyone listening, I think you have to have more of these discussions if we're ever going to grow, if we're ever going to know how to evolve. And so many people are no longer evolving.
Yeah.
They're just stuck.
Yeah. And even for us, we do talk a lot together, and it helps. It helps both of us, because I'm learning from her and she's learning from me, and just even listen to each other, just to not just mother to daughter, but also as two human beings. You know? Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.